Joining us today on the LA Food Podcast, he's the mastermind behind the new restaurant Ladyhawk at the Lapeer Hotel in West Hollywood, which Bill Addison called the most compelling Lebanese restaurant in Los Angeles right now. He's also a former champion of Top Chef Middle East and contestant on Top Chef World All-Stars. I'm talking, of course, about Chef Charbel Hayek. Chef, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for this beautiful introduction. You couldn't get any better. I mean, it's great.
I'm sorry I didn't have time to list all your awards and accolades and things
No,
like
no,
that.
this is more than enough, man. More than enough. I'm just a
Yeah,
regular chef.
yeah, sure. No, so some guests in the past have said that I need like Michael Jordan crowd noise at the end of the introductions,
I
but
know. I was about to do it. I'm like, you
yeah,
hyped
yeah,
me
you're
up.
like, and the crowd goes wild. Yeah, Chef, how are you doing today? You're in Los Angeles? Are you staying dry?
That was, I mean, it's been raining the last couple of days, but I mean, I love Los Angeles. I love the weather here. I love everything about it. It feels like home. Yeah, now I live in Los Angeles, and today I'm here. Yes.
So you're living in Los Angeles. If you don't mind me asking, what part of Los Angeles are you generally located in?
I mean, I'm always around Hollywood, West Hollywood, especially now my restaurant is there. But I live in San Gabriel, which is like next to Pasadena, and I mean, it's a beautiful city all around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm closer to San Gabriel than I am to West Hollywood, actually. And I will say, you probably have some excellent food recommendations out there, especially perhaps in the Asian cuisine world.
I mean, I love Asian cuisine, but I don't want to be naming the restaurant and stuff. I mean, there is so many good spots, and one my favorite are always like the ones are hidden in the corner and they're not even known. I like to stop by randomly. Uh,
Yeah,
has great cuisine all over. Like you have Mexican, Asian, like good Italian. I mean, it's a very well rounded city when it comes to like
and
food
good
scene.
and good Lebanese too, as we're going to discuss.
Let's
So
go. Dig
speaking of, you grew up in Beirut, if I'm not mistaken, and I'd love for
in.
you to tell us
Yes.
a little bit about what little Charbel was like. What were you like as a kid? What were your hobbies, your interests, your passions?
I can tell you, I was a fat kid and I love eating. Before I even started cooking, I used to eat a lot. So I was way bigger. I lost like 8 years ago, I lost like 25 pounds. Uh,
Wow.
yes. And I was very bad at school. So school wasn't made for me for sure. And I had beautiful childhood in Lebanon. I mean, it couldn't get any better. I wouldn't change one thing. And I grew up in a house where there's always good food around. I used to be a chef. Yeah, I mean, one day I'm like, I think I want to be a chef. And then
Yeah.
the rest is
Well,
history.
we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I'm really I'm heartened to hear that you were a fat kid because I was a fat child as well.
Yeah.
Actually, did you go on a special diet to lose it, or was it maybe the Top Chef, all the moving around that made you lose the weight?
No, I lost the weight when that was the first year I started cooking. So I was in love. That's why, this childhood love.
I
So
hear you. I hear you.
yeah, it happened.
Yeah, I've been there. We've all been there. We've all been there. But okay, so you
Yeah,
mentioned that your mom was a chef, right? Did she have a
yeah.
restaurant or was she cooking at other restaurants?
No, no, she used to be private chef for like 15 years, and she's a great cook, great chef. Her food is always coming from the heart, and everything she touch, I mean, it's delicious. Obviously, I'm biased, right? But till today, whenever she cooks something, I'm like, damn, this is good. She doesn't follow a recipe, and then she's so natural about it. And so growing up in a family where there's always good food around, I mean, we love eating, we love cooking, we love gathering. I'm a very family-oriented guy, so this is something in our culture to host people and invite people over and all sit down. Food bring people together, especially if it's delicious food.
So
Yes,
you were
it's
you were
great.
you were interested and excited about this world you were living in. You weren't like, "Mom, stop cooking all the time. That's embarrassing."
No, no, I used to like watch her cooking. But in the beginning, like first couple years, I wasn't sure if that was really what I want to do. I was very interested in it, but and then one day I told my dad, I'm like, I think I want to be a chef, and he's like, think about it more before you come and tell me you made your mind. I'm like, okay. So it took me a couple more weeks. I'm like, I'm really bad at school. I don't want you to waste your money. I don't want to waste my time. I just want to go all in one thing on something I love to do. And the day I walked in the kitchen as a student in the culinary school, I felt like this is where I belong,
Hmm.
And I believe this. I'm very lucky to experience this to figure out who I am at a very young age because that's it. You go all in into one thing and you have a chance to be successful.
Yeah. Which aspect of it did you like? Because obviously, like, some people fall in love with the actual cooking, right? Others get the sort of entrepreneurial bug and are like, hey, I really want to be opening restaurants and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which part of it really appealed to you?
I mean, in the beginning, it was only cooking. Until today, the entrepreneur part and the business part came because of the cooking. So for me, you cannot get to the second step if you don't master the first one. So my mind operates in a very simple way. I want to be the best at what I do, and the money gonna come. And I never look for a job where they pay me more. I always look for a job where can I learn more. And I
Hmm.
knew that if I spend first 10 years of my life working with in the best restaurant with the best chefs, I have a chance to make it. And this is what I did. I went all in. I mean, I always have this simple mentality. Who is the best chef right now today around me where I can reach?
Hmm.
And then I went straight and then I'm like, I knock on the door, I want to work for you, even for free. Just I want to learn. And I
Wow.
did it for 6 years and it paid.
Is that how you ended up in Los Angeles?
And no, coming to Los Angeles, it was a bit different story. My family got the green card, all of us. So my dad called
Hmm.
me. I was in Paris working and studying, and he's like, "We got the green card." I'm like, "Okay." What? Like, my mindset was like, I'm happy here. I'm cooking good food. This is what I want to do, right? And he started explaining to me it's a great opportunity, etc. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I moved to Los Angeles from with my family, and I'm like, okay, now I want to find the best restaurant to be part of. I want to work for the best chef. This is where I went to Melisse, and we started working there.
So, what were your impressions of Los Angeles when you first arrived? Had you been here before?
No, 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 no. I mean, we always heard about California, Los Angeles, Hollywood, but you see it in the movies, but it's I never experienced it. So first 6 months I was very uncomfortable because it happened that I got used to France and I thought this is where I want to be, and here it's completely different. And 6 months later, I would never leave this city. It's just
Yeah.
don't judge too early. Give it 6 months. I always say whenever you travel, give it 6 months and see how it's gonna be.
With Los Angeles, especially, you know what? I grew up in Europe myself, and when I came to
Yeah,
Los Angeles, it was a big culture shock for me because it's so different
yeah,
and driving
yeah.
everywhere and yeah,
I
the
agree.
social scene and everything.
Yeah,
I think 6 months, you're absolutely right. That's how long it takes.
that's
And then after you've fallen in love, it's hard to go back.
I so now if you give me the opportunity or like if you give me a choice, I'm like, no, this is where I want to be. It's simple
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's beautiful because it's good. It's good to be grateful, and I am grateful for sure.
So speaking of grateful though, when you got here, what were your impressions of the Lebanese food here specifically?
So that's a good question. I think the Lebanese food in general in the US isn't very strong and it's not represented in the best way and the way it should be. And
Mm.
that's not because there's not a good Lebanese restaurant here. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is not being able to use the right ingredients and being too far from Lebanon and the lack of the Lebanese chefs play a huge role. If you look at different
Mhm.
cuisines in the US, like Italian, there's so many great Italian chefs, Japanese, French. I think the Middle Eastern cuisine in general, it's not there yet, and I hope I'm doing my best to represent it the best way possible.
Yeah, well, I think you're off to a fantastic start personally, but I also
Thank you.
one thing I've read is like, when it comes to Italian cuisine or French cuisine and whatnot, we have so many different dishes and regions and regional specialities represented with the restaurants that exist out here. And whereas with Lebanese food in general, there's a much smaller universe of food that is showcased when you go to Lebanese restaurants in
Yeah,
Los Angeles or in America. Would you agree
yeah.
with that? Do you think like that there's a whole universe of Lebanese regional specialties and other types of dishes that could stand to be showcased more here in America?
Oh, 100%. I mean, not only here in America and in the whole world. And I think right now we're in a time where the Mediterranean and especially the Middle Eastern cuisine is booming. And I give it 10 years. I think the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle Eastern cuisine in general are gonna be number one. Right now, I'm sure it's Italian, Japanese, maybe French. But people have been having this kind of cuisine forever. But they never really had a proper Lebanese food or Middle Eastern food. And I think I hope we're gonna help to make it there faster.
Those are big words. 10 years. You heard it here first, folks. Lebanese food going to be number one over Italian, over Japanese. Now, let's talk a little bit about Melisse. So, you already mentioned that you ended up at Josiah Citrin's
Yeah,
Melisse over in Santa Monica. How did that opportunity come about? Did you go knock on the door?
yeah, I did actually. I
Really?
swear. So first, for 5, 6 months, I moved here. I worked in the butcher shop in Granada Hills. I just wanted the money, and then I didn't want to work in any restaurant. I thought, I mean, if I didn't find the right restaurant yet, I would rather get better in butchering and my knife skills
Wow.
because it's part of being a chef. So I did it for like 5, 6 months, and in the meantime, I was like applying everywhere. No one was responding to me, so I'm like, let me give it a try and go and knock on the door. So I went to Melisse, Santa Monica. I remember I asked one guy, he's ECB server. Now we're very close friends. Uh, is the chef is there? And then he's like, yeah. And I thought Chef Josiah was gonna pop up and talk to me, right? And then I'm sure he's so busy for that. So I met the chef de cuisine, and then I said I want to stage. He's like, sure. So I came and I staged, and I got the job, and I kept going.
That's crazy. It's crazy to me that we had a Top Chef contestant, Top Chef winner at the
Yeah,
butchers in Granada Hills. The people
yeah.
there getting their minced meat, and we're like, "Hey, could I just get the minced meat?"
I
Little did they
wasn't
know that, like, yeah,
I wasn't top chef back then, so I was
yeah,
just a young kid who's trying to make extra bucks. So, but for me, a good chef, you should be good in every area. I see so many
yeah.
chefs when it comes to butchering or stuff like that. It's part of being a chef. They don't know how to do it. So to learn every area of cooking, you know.
Hmm.
And I don't like to label myself as a Lebanese chef. That's why I went first 8 years in my life working for French and Italian restaurant, Italian chefs, etc. Because I wanted to have the experience of every cuisine almost, and then I can always cook my food. Like today, what I'm doing right now at Ladyhawk, it's Lebanese and East Mediterranean cuisine with California flair, with all the technique I learned from working in a French restaurant, etc. So
Hmm.
it will shape you in a different way for sure.
But the thing that I think some of our listeners might not realize is just how young you are. You make it sound like you've had
Yeah.
like 20 years of experience or something, or 30 years in the industry. But like, the reason I said the Top Chef thing about the butcher in Granada Hills is because yes, you weren't a Top Chef yet, but you were what, like 5 years away from that, maybe, not even. So I feel like you've had a very
4 or 5 years.
I was gonna
four
say,
years,
that's a
four
very
years.
accelerated trajectory in a
Yes.
small amount of time, so it's pretty cool to see. Now, so we've
Yeah.
heard about Melisse. Oh, I wanna hear quickly, what were your impressions of working in a kitchen in Los Angeles versus working in the kitchens you worked in Paris? What were the, like, the different, like, the dining scene and sort of, like, the dining culture, what did you notice?
I mean, let's be honest. A kitchen like Melisse is not like any other kitchen in Los Angeles. Kitchen like Melisse, it's like exactly how it is in Paris, maybe even better. So it wasn't something very unusual for me. That's why I was looking for this kind of kitchen because this is where I want to be. This is where I already started. So I don't want to go to any other restaurant or casual dining just because I'm cooking. No, I want to work
Totally.
next to the best, and it's tough. It's these kind of kitchens are like an army. You don't joke around. You have to always say yes, chef. You have to have always the right attitude. Sometimes you may yell at you, and you have to take full chin, and it builds you. It builds your character, make you tough, and at the end of the day, it's on you. Like how what you're gonna do is what you have. So
Yeah.
this is it.
Well, it sounds like, you had a pretty good situation at Melisse. How did you
Well,
get from there to appearing on Top Chef Middle East? How does that even work? Do they contact you? Do you audition
yeah,
for it?
yeah. I think I get referred by celebrity chef in Lebanon. So the way I think they do it, there's a lot of chefs who apply. I think more than 20,000 a year. You can apply online, but mainly like half or maybe more than half are referred by
Hmm.
chefs and by people who know the production team, and the production team trusts those people. So I get random email saying we're casting from Top Chef Mina, and then we're interested in your, your page on Instagram. I think they found my page, and then we did the casting, and I got accepted, and I'm like,
What
let's
what
do
is
it.
the casting like? Are they like asking you for like cooking on camera, or is it
Yeah,
like personality based?
out of everybody who applied, they picked 50, and then they brought us uh, I think to Beirut, and then we did like we compete against each other, like a black box. You open it, and then you see what you have, and you have to cook a dish. And then they pick 16 out of those 50, and I was one of the 16.
That's crazy. So, before you went, did you have any like reservations about going? Because one thing I've
No,
heard, no, you were like, let's go, let's fucking go.
yeah. Listen, one thing I learned, I tried. I tried to do that when I was in the competition. But one thing I learned about Top Chef, you're never gonna be ready for a certain challenge because you never know what's gonna come, right? And then you don't wanna put your mindset in a certain area. You have to just be open of, be willing to cook anything and do anything, and sometimes it's gonna work and sometimes it's not. So
Mhm.
it's risky. I mean, it's risky for sure.
I spoke with one of my chef friends about recently going on a TV show. And, one thing they mentioned about Top Chef is that some chefs look at Top Chef and are like, that's obviously like one of the most high caliber shows you can be on. But
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes the chefs that are on Top Chef get labeled as Top Chef chefs, and it's hard to like shake that label afterwards. You're
Why you
like, what's
wanna?
wrong with that?
Mm, yeah, why you wanna shake it? I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
look at it this way, right? There is so many talented chefs who never get this opportunity, and then they may be better than us, right? And then listen, at the end of the day, it's what you want to do and what makes you happy. There is some there is so many talented chefs who doesn't want to be on camera and who wanna their goal is to cook great food to make their diners happy, and nothing wrong with it. This is success for me, as long as this is what you want to do, right? Uh, and if you want it to be on TV and you get the opportunity, I think you should be proud of it. Either you won or not, you got it. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
everybody
speaking
is different for everybody.
Yeah. Well, speaking of winning, you did win your season of
Yeah,
Top Chef. Mina. So congratulations
Yes,
on that.
thank
What
you.
was that like? Like, what, I mean, you're this young guy. Well, how old are you
Mhm.
at the time? 24, 25 years old?
When we filmed it, it was 23, but when we aired it, it was like 6 months later, I was 24.
And you were the youngest ever person to
Yes, yeah,
compete
youngest.
and obviously to win.
I think worldwide. I think even in any, I'm not sure, but I think even in different top chef in the world, I'm the youngest so far. Age doesn't matter, right? It's at the end of the day what you have done in your last years, right? You can be a 4-year-old chef, but you wasted 10 years working nowhere, right? And you can be a young chef who only work with the best, and you're so talented and you're so natural about it. This is all you think about. You have a chance to beat the older chefs. Same thing the opposite way. So it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. Um, and yeah, I mean, I had some up,
Yeah.
I had some downs too in Top Chef, and I kept going. It's not easy. It's not easy because whatever you see on TV is just 10% what happened behind the scene. Like
Hmm.
literally, you watch an hour episode, but in fact it took 24-hour filming, so it's exhausting mentally before even physically. Like the stress of you being on camera, and it's like a fighter who had a great camp, and whenever he spar, he's the best, right? But once you're on the
Yeah.
stage in front of the cameras, if you ask any other fighter, they will tell you it's not the same, right? You forget some stuff. So Top Chef, it's the same thing. You see great
So,
chefs like you, yeah. People, sorry, keep going.
well, I was just gonna say. So, in some ways, it sounds like maybe your youth was an advantage because you kind of need stamina and it's almost like an athletic pursuit. It sounds like.
Oh, it is for sure. I mean, we had great examples, and in both Top Chef, where some older contestant they were like, I can't move my hand anymore. You know, I just you have to keep going, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to that point because I'm so curious. So I'm assuming you're not a regular listener of the podcast, but you should know that we are massive Top Chef fans on this podcast. We literally
Oh
do a
wow,
fantasy. We did a fantasy Top Chef last year for your
oh
season
wow.
of Top Chef World All Stars. Me and my co-host Saul. He's
How was
gonna
that?
love listening. I mean, it wasn't good for me. He won because he picked Buddha,
Yeah,
so obviously he got
great.
that. He picked you too, so he did really well with the onion dish that we'll talk about in a little
Okay,
bit. But
sure.
basically, I'm so curious about what is one week like in the Top Chef life cycle for you? Is it elimination challenge one day? I'm sorry, quick fire challenge one day and then elimination the next, or does it always change around?
You mean filming?
Yeah, filming
How it
wise.
is? Okay, so usually every episode works differently, right? But usually it's we go to the kitchen and then we shoot the quick fire. And then they announce the challenge and we go shopping same day. And then sometimes you go prep same day and then you finish prepping second day. You finish the challenge and sometimes you just shop that day from Whole Food and then you go to your room, you have some rest. I mean, that's you never finish from filming before midnight. That's for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
it takes
Mm-hmm.
time. Like let's say we go to Whole Food, right? We have to wait in the car for 2 hours for them to set up the cameras and stuff
No.
like that. So it's like exhausting the wait. Like the wait is exhausting. That's the thing. And then so usually every episode takes 3 days maximum to finish.
Wow. I never thought about
Yeah.
that. What do you do while you're waiting? I'm assuming you get to know your contestants very well.
Yeah, not really because we have to stay on ice, so we shouldn't be talking much. That's for sure. Because I like to have our conversation in front of the cameras because it's natural, even when you're talking random stuff, right? So I like to have it. So most of the times they ask us to stay quiet, which is hard, like, come on, give me a break. I'm like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Do you
mean, you
bring
have
a
to follow
book?
the rules.
What do you bring a book or do you read recipes or you
So,
write what do you
so yes, Dale, remember Dale from Canada?
Yeah, yeah,
He used to
yeah.
have always books, and I'm like, I'm curious now. I want to have a book, but you'll have your journal, you write recipes, you put some ideas together. Maybe you'll be thinking about your challenge and stressed about it. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's
you'll have
talk about World
butterflies.
All Stars. Yeah, your butterflies. So let's talk about World All
Ah,
Stars specifically, okay, and your
yeah.
challenges. So first of all, you went from Top Chef Mina to Top Chef World All Stars. Obviously, in Top Chef World All Stars, you're surrounded by all these winners and runners up and whatnot. Did it add to your butterflies? Did you get even more before you competed on that one?
It's definitely harder, but it's the same feeling, first and the second chef. Nothing
Yeah.
changed. You don't know what's coming, and I learned something that when you win a challenge, you have to go to your room and forget about it. Don't let it get in your head. And when you lose a challenge, or let's say when you're on the bottom and you don't do good, you should go to your room and forget about it. Don't let it get to your head. So because sometimes one episode you can be one of the best, it doesn't mean anything. Second episode you can get sent home. This is what happened with me.
Mhm. Yeah, we're gonna
So
get there. Don't worry, we're gonna get
yeah,
there. But that sounds exactly like an athlete. Like literally, like
exactly.
you hear about LeBron. You could have a 40-point game one night. You go to your room, you forget, like it never happened, basically, because you're only
I
as
mean,
good as your last cook.
same thing with restaurant business, right? I always tell my team, it doesn't matter if today we have the best service ever. Tomorrow it's a new day. You have to forget. You
Mm-hmm.
don't get too cocky. Like don't think you got
Mm-hmm.
it. Just always try to make yourself uncomfortable because that means you're taking it seriously. And
Yeah.
same thing with Top Chef.
Yeah, yeah, incredible. Okay, we're going to talk about three challenges from your Top Chef World All Stars
Yeah,
appearance. First, I want to talk about in our final episode of our podcast where we were discussing Top Chef World All Stars, we had to pick our favorite dishes of the season, and I think we both picked your onion dish as our
yeah,
favorite from the season. So, talk us through that iconic dish, at least iconic on this podcast, of how
yeah.
you came up with it. It was the first elimination challenge, right?
Yes, it was. And it's funny till today. I almost every day I have like two tables from our guests are from our Top Chef fans, right? And every time somebody asks me, is the onion dish on the menu? I'm like, no, it takes too much time. I cannot serve it here. So yeah, we had our challenge was to come out with a dish that it's vegetable forward dish and the protein has to be like like complement, right? And I remember we're like going at Whole Food and I see the chefs around me. Everyone's buying protein like fish or scallop or lamb. I'm like, it's hard to do that. For me, my philosophy was very simple. Is I want to pick a vegetable that's very humble, that goes well almost with any kind of protein, and I want to use the protein as a sauce. And I thought about onion and chicken stew. I mean, it's a match made
Mm.
in heaven. To make the best chicken stew, you have to use a lot of onions or shallots, and then onion is a very humble dish, very very humble ingredients that you can do a lot with it. And if you give it to any professional chef, literally he will be so happy because I mean you can be so creative with the onion. And yeah, I mean I remember we had like 250 pounds to shop at Whole Food. I spent like what 30 pounds. I mean, I
Wow.
only bought onions and chicken wings to make my chicken jus. And
Wow.
then the dish was very simple but also complex. I used different technique of onions. I stuffed the onions with more onion puree. The onion puree were cooked with like pomegranate molasses, chicken stock, and then I worked so much on the chicken jus itself because I'm like, it's so simple, but if you nail every component, you can go wrong. And I remember very well. So I was roasting my onions, and I didn't know any of the contestant. I knew Ali, and then I watched Buddha, but I don't know like how good they are, how crazy they're going from the first challenge. And then I remember I was like roasting my onions and I was next to Buddha and I saw Buddha like putting he's like making like a mushroom scale for like the fish, something like that. And I see it's so technical. I'm like, I'm not joking. I'm like, this motherfucker is going crazy for an episode one, you know? I gotta step up. So the level of the chefs were top notch, you know. First episode's like
Yeah.
a finale.
Yeah.
You can't take it easy, you know. So that's good. It
It pushed
make
you.
you push. It pushed me exactly, and then it's good. It's good to come out on top against everybody, you know. Even like
Yeah.
this first episode, you're like, I'm here.
Yeah, you announced yourself on the scene. I love that dish too, because now hearing more about your story too, it's clear like,
Yeah,
the jus and whatnot and the onion reminds you a little bit of like it feels like something you might get in a Parisian bistro, but you've
yeah,
also got your pomegranate molasses, which is a clear,
yeah,
something very
yeah.
well used in
Melisse,
Lebanese. Yeah,
yeah.
so I love how you weaved all that in there.
And because always one thing about Top Chef, you have to always relate to your dish with a story, and that's one of the reason why I always say Top Chef brought me back to my roots because I always used to cook French cooking, French, and always used to cook in French cuisine or Italian or different. I always wanted to learn different cuisine, and I'm like, I don't. I mean, why should I cook Lebanese, right? So when I was on Top Chef first time, you have to come up with a dish that relate to a story. That's very important. So I kept going to my memory and the dishes I used to eat it with from my mom, right? Stuff like that. And so yeah, Top Chef for sure brought me to my roots.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of, one of my favorite challenges of the entire season was the challenge with Gagan Anand, and you obviously did pretty well on that
Yeah,
one too.
yeah, yeah.
If I recall correctly, it was again basically being able to create a dish that was telling a story or that had some meaning to it, right? And
Y-
the other key component was you couldn't use your hand, you couldn't use your
Yes.
forks to eat it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the challenge was you have to come up with a dish that has a lot of meaning and great story, but also you have to eat it with your hand, right? And yeah, I thought about I'm like I'm gonna do like a Lebanese flag, and it mean a lot to me because Lebanon is a very very small country, and it's kind of like forgotten, right? And I'm like I'm on the biggest stage in the world, and I'm proud to be Lebanese, and I'm like I want to put it on the map, and it was great. And till today here at Ladyhawk too, the toppings on the za'atar manouche are the same topping I did the Lebanese flag. So I
Wow.
took that idea and then put it together in a different way, and it's people favorite.
But it's not. There's no tree on the manouche.
No, it's too hard to do. No,
Yeah,
we've been
yeah,
so busy. I mean, you can. It's already hard
yeah, yeah.
to
I'm gonna
execute.
make sure when I come in, I'm gonna request the tree and make your kitchen a nightmare. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll do it for you. Don't
Well,
worry.
you please do not. Final question about Top Chef. I have to quickly touch on the challenge that did you in, the Fast and the Furious challenge.
Yeah,
If I were you and I was in that Fast and the Furious challenge, I would have nightmares about it for the rest of my life. It just seems so stressful. Like to have one of those challenges where you're Frenching lamb for like Frenching as many lamb racks as you can in
yeah,
2 minutes or something like that. Well, that was what you had to do, right?
yeah. We had it was a different stage. The challenge was a different stage, and we were a group. And I think I had to pick dates. I had to can't remember. Oh, cut prickly pears. Oh my
Mm.
God, that was a nightmare too.
Had you done that
And
before?
no, I mean I've ate prickly pear before, but like they ask us to small dice it, and I thought about I'm like okay, we'll small dice it. It has to be perfect, and it has so much seeds in it, so it's impossible to get the perfect shape. And I look in front of me, I see Gabri, he's like chopping the shit out of it. I'm like, that's not fair. And they let him like pass. So I'm like, but listen,
That's hilarious.
you're on Top Chef World All Star, so everybody is good at everything. So we won some, we lost some, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
messed up.
You messed up. But hey, it was a hard challenge, and it was a team challenge too. If I was a contestant and I got out on a team challenge, I would always be bitter about it. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's easy to blame somebody else, but for me, I always say, whatever happened in Top Chef, just take it on the chin like a champ, and then it's not the end of your career, and it's not about what happened, it's what you do after Top Chef, right? So
Mhm.
you can win Top Chef, but if you don't take the right, if you don't take advantage of it, it doesn't mean anything. And then you can do good enough on Top Chef, and then after Top Chef, you can even go bigger, you know?
Well, let's talk about life after Top Chef because
Yeah,
you've mentioned it a few times. I mentioned it at the top as well, but there's your
yeah,
very exciting latest project at the Lapeer Hotel in West Hollywood. It's
yeah.
Ladyhawk, and it's receiving rave reviews. Congratulations to you and your staff.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did this opportunity come about to open this restaurant?
I mean, it was very random. I got an email from the general manager, Evan Thomas, and the email was very straightforward. We watch you on Top Chef, and we're, we're looking to partner with a chef that we were looking to partner with a chef to come out with an Eastern Mediterranean concept. And I'm like, listen, the way I look at in life, I'm always open to hear what you have, right? So I'm like, sure, why not? So I shot them an email. We jump on a call. We start going back and forth, and then we made it happen.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's like it's just like any other business deal. It's just like, an email and then you just shoot a few
Yeah,
emails
I
back
mean,
and forth and there you go. Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
never know, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's been a blast to be able to come out with a restaurant in 2 months only. That's very challenging, and it's risky for my name. It's risky for the hotel itself. They're putting the money. But I mean, we have the right team around, and everybody works so hard to make this come true. And
Yeah.
I can't take the credit only for myself. You know, there is a big team behind me working so much to make this restaurant one of the hot spots in LA. And I can't complain, to be honest. We're like in 3 months in, we're breaking every number, and people are very happy. Right now, the goal is to just maintain the quality and always try to improve. So
Yeah. It's good.
we have a
But
long
it's
way to go.
basics, right? Yeah,
I
but it's
mean,
like if you get those
yeah,
basics right, that's what matters, right?
true. I agree.
Spoken like someone who's never worked in a kitchen, but whatever. So tell me
That's
about
fine.
the concept. Was the concept of Ladyhawk always baked? Did you always have a clear vision for what you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to have my first restaurant as, as a Middle Eastern restaurant because it's a great story and I can relate, people can relate, and also LA food scene lacks so much from this kind of concept. There is, especially here in West Hollywood, like around us, there's like 15 Italian restaurants, right? And I mean, it's hard to mess it up, right? If you just serve good food and you're in a good location, I can't see it why it's not gonna work. And luckily, the team at Kimpton, they had the same vision. They wanted to open this kind of concept for last 6 months. They've been working on it and they've been very picky with the chef, and we made it happen.
Where did the name Ladyhawk come from?
So we wanted to come up with a name that's very catchy and also have a story that can relate to my story. And since my mom used to be a chef, so it's got to be something with lady and then Ladyhawk. Ladyhawk sounds cool. And then we thought about it for a couple of days. And I mean, honestly, I think it's one of the best names in the city.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and so you think of it a little bit as an ode to your mom.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, that's cool.
100%.
So I've read a lot about the mezza platter, and it's blowing up my Instagram feed. Honestly, and my
Yeah.
algorithm is like it's like all mezza platters all the time. Can you talk to us about it real quick? What's on it? I understand that there's a ton of intricacy into it.
Yeah, I mean, the meze word is technically it's like tapas, right? But in the Middle East, in the Middle Eastern culture, Meze, it's mean abundant of dishes served all together, and some of them are cold, some of them are hot, and you just put it in the middle, and then you start sharing them, eating, dipping the pita, enjoying eating a little bit of everything, and it's like a lot of dishes come together, right? So we wanted to have a platter that have highlight my favorite meze, and then we come out with those nine beautiful meze, and people are loving it. Like people order it on the bar too. It's crazy. Like every table
Because
ordered
it's
the
a
meze
big
platter.
dish, right? It
Yeah,
comes
it's
on
like
like a massive lazy Susan, as I understand.
yes, and it has like nine different kind of nine different mezes and warm baked fresh pita. It's great. I mean, I came here with my family to eat, and I've sat as like a guest, right? And I wanted to experience it. That was like couple weeks ago. And once it gets served, I'm like, this is cool. I mean, forget it's my food, right? But I'm like, it's fun. You eat it with your hand, like it's like you have a little bit of everything. Now I understand why people are loving it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's a really cool experience too. I mean, I love the experience of going out and the meze experience, and that's my favorite part of dining at any sort of Lebanese restaurant is the ability to curate your own experience and get a little bit of everything. It's the OG family style. You know how like
Yeah,
every restaurant get like
yeah,
now that you go to, they're like, "Hey, we do things a little bit differently. You're gonna order like a bunch of
yeah,
plates for the family, you know." But like it's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
that's how they just that's mezza, right? It's
I
cool
agree.
that I love eating like that, and I really am excited to try the one at Ladyhawk. But I've read so much about the
Please do.
hummus as well, and I know that the
Yeah,
hummus is like, a lot of people look at hummus and they're just like, oh, it's the throwaway side dish that you get at any Mediterranean restaurant. But I understand
yeah.
that
I mean,
yours takes a hell of a lot of work.
yeah. I mean, it's a whole process to make good hummus. It's not opening can and using canned chickpeas. We completed the opposite. We use dry chickpeas that we soak for 24 hours, and then we cook them for a couple hours, and then after it's cooked, we rinse them to try to remove all the skin, and then we make it fresh every day. It's a long process for a simple dip, but I think people can taste the difference and people can see the work behind it because for me, it's the best in town.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to try it.
Please do.
I've dabbled in making my own hummus, and I'll tell you what, it's no good at home. No good. But my
Oh,
problem
it's
is my
hard, trust me.
problem is
You need
well, my
you need
problem
the
is
right
I'm using the
equipment.
canned chickpeas. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. You
exactly.
have a
But you need the right equipment.
yeah, you have some like heavy machinery for it too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We use like a large Robocop blender. But I mean, it's not cheap. It's very expensive, and but you get the best result. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, can't complain.
yeah, yeah. No, I can't complain either. What is your ambition for Ladyhawk? And I gotta ask you as well. Do you have any other ideas or dream concepts that you would like to do one day?
And what do you mean? Like come with a new restaurant?
Yeah, I just mean like you know how like everybody has like the dream to do. Like for example, like I talked to one of my friends the other day, and they were like, you know what I really want to do? I want to do Indian hot dogs. Like that's what I just have
Yeah.
this idea, and I really want to do it. Do you have any of those like crazy ideas that are half baked, not even real ideas that you're like,
Yeah.
what would be fun?
I mean, listen, one thing for sure, I see the potential of taking Ladyhawk to different states and different cities. The concept is it's made so well together, and then there is lack of this kind of cuisine in every market in US. But beside Ladyhawk, as a chef, I feel like I'm like an artist, right? I like to be
Hmm.
creative, and I don't like to label myself as a Lebanese chef, as I said, or fine dining chef, or casual dining. I'm always open for new adventure, and I'm always open to grow. I just started right now, so this is just the beginning, and I still have so much energy, and I'm hungry for more. But the right opportunity will present itself, and just I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, well, you got a bright future. You've already done so much. It's crazy. You make us all look like underachievers over here, so we're
No,
very
no,
upset about that.
you're doing great too.
Well, Chef, last question I have for you,
Yes,
and we ask this on all our guests, and I think that it's an interesting one that we always love to hear the answer of. But it's when you look back at your journey so far, what are you most proud of?
it's a good question. It's being proud of yourself. It's something gotta be related to a decision you've made before. And nobody is perfect. We all made mistake in our life, but in general, I believe if somebody have done what he's born to do and what he's gifted at, I think either if he became successful already or not yet, he should be proud of. And I'm very proud that I've pursued the chef career and I just went all in with it. All the award that came with it and success, that's cherry on top. But for me, I'm grateful that I was able to pick and choose what I want to do. And I'm a very simple man. Only good in one thing, and it's cooking. So proud to be a chef for sure.
Hey, well, we're proud to have you in our city, Chef, and we're going to put
Thank
it in
you.
the show notes. We're going to be sending everybody to Ladyhawk. Just want to say thank you for making the time, for joining
Of
us. And
course,
again, congratulations to you and all your staff.
we can't wait to have you at Ladyhawk.
Don't you should worry because I eat a lot. Okay, so I don't want to put you out.
I bet money with you if you can finish the mezze platter. So it's a big one.
I told you I was a fat kid too, so you know I can put it down.
All right, I'll send you one just for you.
Good to know. Good to know.
Great, man.
Chef,